Good evening. And first at 5, fallout from the investigation into allegations of abuse in the National Women's Soccer League. The owner and management of the Portland Thorns were blasted in the report, and now the team owner is taking action. Good evening. I'm Laurel Porter.
And I'm David Molko. Thorns owner Merritt Paulson says he, the team's president, and the former GM will temporarily remove themselves from all Thorns-related decision-making. Let's bring in Mike Benner outside Providence Park. Mike, Paulson also owns the Timbers. What's his plan with that team?
Yeah, David, we're told that Merritt Paulson and two of his right-hand men still plan to be involved with the Timbers, and what that does is call into question just how removed these men will be from the Thorns, because both clubs, the Thorns and the Timbers, are run out of Providence Park. Regardless, Merritt Paulson temporarily sidelining himself from the Thorns is not enough if you ask some of the team's supporters. They want Paulson gone.
The people that are currently in charge cannot be trusted any longer. They have completely destroyed our trust.
From members of the 107ist, a nonprofit that supports the Portland Thorns, Timbers, and soccer in general, to the sports columnist for the Oregonian.
Everyone who takes pride in living here and being from here should be personally insulted.
The level of disgust in Soccer City, USA is off the charts, and demands for a major shakeup are loud and clear. And it starts at the top with Merritt Paulson.
He needs to sell these teams and get out of Portland, or at least get out of Portland sports.
The calls for change and accountability come 24 hours after the international law firm King & Spalding released the findings of a months-long investigation into allegations of abuse in the National Women's Soccer League. The investigation revealed a toxic culture of sexual, emotional, and verbal abuse across the NWSL, and the Portland Thorns were not cleared of wrongdoing. In fact, far from it. The investigation showed patterns of misconduct by Thorns and Timbers owner Merritt Paulson and front office staffers Gavin Wilkinson and Mike Golub. KGW has also learned of attempts by the Thorns organization to interfere with the overall investigation.
We want literally any sort of repercussions. So far, everyone that's been involved is still there. We want tangible consequences and change.
But it appears Thorns and Timbers supporters will have to wait for that. Merritt Paulson released a statement apologizing for the organization's role in a gross systemic failure to protect player safety. But as of right now, he has no plans to sell his teams. Instead, he, along with Gavin Wilkinson and Mike Golub, will remove themselves from Thorns-related decision-making until the findings of another investigation are released in November.
He's kicking the can down the road, buying himself some more time, hoping for outs while we await the results of the NWSL investigation.
We just want consequences to actually come to fruition. It'd be nice to see for once.
And among those wanting to see some serious consequences, Thorns player Becky Sauerbrunn, she spoke to the New York Times saying any owner or executive who failed the player should be gone. We're also hearing from some of the team's sponsors. The founders of Laurelwood Brewing say their findings of the report do not reflect their values, and they're waiting to see what happens next before making any decisions about next season. Providence Health sending a letter to its employees saying it supports Thorns players and anyone impacted by sexual harassment and misconduct. They say there needs to be a system in place that prevents sexual coercion and all forms of abuse, adding that they're following the situation closely. And lastly, we're hearing from Alaska Airlines. They, too, troubled by the findings in this report. They say they support Thorns players and a positive systemic change, and they're currently assessing how to achieve those objectives. Back to you.
A lot of fallout, a lot of calls for change. Mike Benner tonight. Thank you, Mike. Developing this evening, Portland police say a cyclist is dead after she was hit by a semi-truck right next to a high school. Let's bring in Joe Ranieri now at Southeast 26th and Powell. It's right across the street from Cleveland High. Joe.
Exactly right, David. Now, this crash happened just before noon right across the street from Cleveland High School, and many of the students that were in class saw and heard this accident. Now, this section of 26th and Powell was shut down from about lunchtime all the way into about 3:30 this afternoon, so nearly 4 hours it was shut down. It's since reopened, as you can see, but police tell us the driver of a semi-truck hit and killed a woman who was in her 40s riding a bike right before noon today. Now, if you've driven or walked in this area, you know know firsthand there's a ton of traffic and often speeding cars. A spokesperson with the Portland Public Schools tells me they had people in place to comfort any Cleveland High students who may have seen the crash.
Once we received word that there was an accident near the school, we came to see if a student was involved. At this point, we've not been able to confirm whether or not a student was involved, but we wanted to make sure we had the supports in place for students who may have witnessed the event.
Now, again, David and Laurel, police did send out another release about an hour ago saying they wanted to reassure parents that the person who was involved in this crash was not a student here at Cleveland High School. Again, the name of the woman has not been released. As for the driver of that semi-truck, he is cooperating with police. We're live in Southeast Portland tonight. Joe Ranieri, KGW News.
Thank you, Joe. With the election a little over a month away, elected officials came together to speak about the importance of voting by mail and denouncing threats towards election officials. The threats derive from conspiracy theories surrounding the 2020 election. Bryant Clerkley has more on the message elected officials wanted to send to the community. Bryant?
Hey, Laurel, just a couple weeks ago on National Voter Registration Day, Secretary of State Shemia Fagan spoke about the threats towards election workers in Southern Oregon. Today, Senator Ron Wyden and other elected officials came together to denounce these threats and defend the state's proven vote-by-mail system.
Because we did see some threats, particularly down in Jackson County, or really across the state at our election clerks and election workers.
That was Oregon's Secretary of State Shemia Fagan speaking about threats to election officials during National Voter Registration Day last month. The topic came up again today at a press conference with U.S. Senator Ron Wyden, State Representative Travis Nelson, and other community leaders. With the election about a month away, officials want to denounce these threats and assure workers that they are protected.
There have been a lot of elections officials in various counties across our state who have been threatened because the results that came out of their counties did not align with the expectations of those who are issuing threats. So again, as the representative here in House District 44, I am committed to ensuring that our elections workers and volunteers are absolutely safe.
Senator Ron Wyden wants to assure people that Oregon's vote-by-mail system is secure, and attacks on the system's integrity come from conspiracy theories around the 2020 election.
A message to all of this election-denying movement, or anybody else who would attack our proven system. Look at the facts.
President and CEO of the Urban League, Nikenge Harmon Johnson, spoke about the importance of voting by mail and how it provides voting access to people who would not have it otherwise.
That vote by mail makes life easier. It creates a savings for individuals, but also for communities. And it allows organizations that give a darn about helping people vote to use their resources differently.
And the election is November 8th. Laurel.
Thank you, Brian. As we head into the November election, homelessness is by far one of the top priorities for Oregon voters. That's according to recent polls. We're sitting down with each of the three gubernatorial candidates to hear their stance on the crisis. Yesterday, we heard from Republican Christine Drazen. Our Blair Best talked today with unaffiliated candidate Betsy Johnson. In her campaign ads, she often says she'll get rid of tent cities and people camping on the sidewalks. Today, we got 21 minutes with her to talk about her plan to address this crisis that she describes as a form of urban decay. She talked of the work she's done to help open the Bybee Lakes Hope Center for homeless people and how she will work to repeal Measure 110 that decriminalized personal possession of illegal drugs.
Well, if homelessness is someone's number one concern going into this election, why should they vote for you?
Well, because I've got a track record. Drive out to Helping Hands and see what's happening out there. If it appears that I take enormous pride in that, it's because I do. We're doing it. We're not talking about it. We're not waiting until housing units are built. We are taking people off the streets and putting them in a setting where they can achieve and maintain their own sobriety with the dignity of work and the investment in their own futures.
You can watch the full interview on our website, along with yesterday's interview with Republican candidate Christine Drazen. Next week, we sit down with Democratic candidate Tina Kotek.
Well, summer driving season may be over, but West Coast gas prices, they continue to climb. In Oregon, the average now $5.45 a gallon. That's up 31 cents from a week ago. Washington just a hair cheaper, $5.32. Nationwide, you're looking at $3.80. That is also up a few cents compared to last week. Industry experts here pointing to several California refineries that are undergoing maintenance. And speaking of high prices, September inflation data comes out next week, though we are looking ahead to December with Oregon Christmas tree farms. Yes, Christmas already, saying you'll find a tree just fine. It's just gonna, no surprise here, cost you more. Christelle Kumway's here. Christelle, I really suppose it's a sign of the times. The question, though, how much more?
Well, on average, the farm I talked with says you'll likely pay about $2 more per foot for your Christmas tree this year. For example, last year, an 8-foot tall tree cost $60. This year, it will cost you $80.
Inflation has impacted just about everything from groceries to gas to now even Christmas trees.
It's huge. It's a huge impact.
Tegan Malera is the co-owner of Lee Farms in Tualatin. They are just one of the Oregon farms that grow 30% of all Christmas trees sold in the U.S. She says from labor to fertilizers, prices have skyrocketed.
They're just so expensive. So really to be able to create a good, clean product, we're looking at triple the cost just to produce something.
But the biggest factor for them, the rising cost of fuel.
You know, these huge tractors that we have use a lot of fuel. Just to even run our equipment, work the fields, it's so expensive to do that.
To offset those costs, they're increasing their prices.
So yes, it's a slight increase for us. We know of other tree farms that are increasing quite a bit. But yeah, I mean, we're going to see that, I think, everywhere.
Even though the costs are up, you shouldn't have trouble finding a Christmas tree this year.
Well, we've talked about gas and trees, but what about your holiday baking? Well, just out today, now we'll have to worry about butter. Costs are up almost 25% since last year, and there is a shortage due to a tight supply of milk.